Okay, welcome back. We are on to part 5 of the review of test number 3. In this part, we're going to go over the matching definitions part of the test, and then also we're going to cover the slide comparison question. Okay, so looking through these, 1, engraving. Let's see, that would be, hold on a second, a form of intaglio printmaking that creates incised, yep, that's E. 2, monochromatic would be means of organizing, yes, F, a means of organizing colors in a painting or an image where all colors are variations of one hue. 3, linseed oil is A, the only binder in oil paints. All right, 4, isometric perspective is a form of measuring and depicting space in drawings that draws objects the way they actually are rather than how we see them. Right? Yep. 5, watercolor is a transparent form of painting used mostly on paper. The pigment is suspended in water, requires gum resin to act as a binder. Okay, that would be G. 6, serigraphy is a form of stencil-based printmaking, B. 7, gouache is J, an opaque water-based paint that is rewettable. So basically exactly the same as watercolor, except for the fact that it is flat and matte. Then 8, chiaroscuro. I don't know why the numbers have shifted. Chiaroscuro 8 is a manner of painting that makes the modeling of light and dark more important than local color and value. All right, and then developed during the Renaissance. The Munsell color spheroid is D, a misshapen 3D model of color that describes the relationship between hue, value, and intensity. And then 8, 9, 10, temporism is, let's see, an extreme use of value contrast in Baroque painting where the space and atmosphere is overwhelmingly dark and the forms are revealed by strong directional light. There we go. All right, on to the next one. So the comparison question was to compare these two in terms of color. And so we wanted to first of all kind of discuss the issues of range, right? So let's start with thinking about color having 3 characteristics: value, intensity, and hue. Let's start with value range. So the value range in the Van Eyck is quite wide. The value range in the Monet is quite narrow, and that the darkest dark, right, is probably about this color, and the darkest value in the painting is still significantly lighter than a mid-gray, whereas the range, the difference between the lightest light to the darkest dark is much wider in the Van Eyck. The hue contrast is also much wider in that in this case we have a lot of green, kind of slightly on the warm side, paired with a very warm red, as well as some other colors, including some of this on the sleeve here, this blue, whereas the Monet is much closer to sort of an analogous painting. It does have some colors that kind of deviate from that, but it's much less range of color. And then intensity contrast, also I would say that the Van Eyck has the wider contrast on their front. So in all cases, a much wider contrast for the Van Eyck. Next, you were supposed to talk about color organization, and we discussed the Van Eyck a number of times in terms of how it relates to complementary color organizations. Now, just to be clear, we're not saying that the Van Eyck is like that all the colors are red and green in the painting. Clearly there are other colors. If anything, most of the colors of the Van Eyck painting are neutrals and earth tones. But the colors that are the most significant, the most intense, and really draw our attention and seem to be the most important are the red of the bed and the green of the dress, and then with the one exception being the blue of the sleeves. So it is, although it's not entirely complementary, it is definitely a painting that's organized around complementary colors. Similarly, the Monet, although it does have a few moments where we kind of deviate from this analogous organization where we have like this kind of yellow-orange sort of color peeking through. The vast majority of the colors are in this kind of blue-green to blue-violet to slightly pinkish kind of violet colors, so pretty close to an analogous and a very narrow range of color organization. And lastly, what was the other thing that we talked about? Range. Oh, local color versus ambient color. So Van Eyck's painting is clearly painted in a very local color way of thinking. Each object is given a identifiable, nameable color. This is a green dress. These are blue sleeves, right? Everything is defined by its local color. The Monet is the opposite. It is aggressively arguing for ambient color. We have no real information about the actual color of the stone. Instead, what we have is lots of information about the color of the atmosphere and the light of the day. It's all about the atmospheric color and not about the color of what form. Okay, so the Monet is an extreme example of ambient color. The Van Eyck is a pretty, not that as extreme, but a pretty definite version of local color thinking. Okay, that'll take us to the next section, to part 6, and I still need to get you the answer on Brunelleschi. All right.